The Phillies complete the four-game sweep of the Pirates. What a series in Pittsburgh. We'll talk about all of it next on today's Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. Been talking Phillies baseball for years over on 97.5 The Fanatic on the radio. Now happy to be here with you as your host of Locked On Phillies. And I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And what a win by the Philadelphia Phillies today. What a series win. What a series sweep. Mr. Broom, if you're watching on YouTube, is back there hanging out because the Phillies had their first four-game sweep of the season with their win over the Pittsburgh Pirates today. Let's go through the scoring plays and talk about how the Phillies got there, because in the top of the first, the Phillies got going early. JT Realmuto had an RBI double to left, scoring Alec Bohm. We'll talk more about Alec Bohm later. And then Nick Castellanos had an RBI single to left, scoring JT Realmuto, who had that RBI double. So beautiful work in the top of the first, making it 2-0. That was wonderful. Now, in the bottom of the third, off Aaron Nola, the Pittsburgh Pirates would get everything going. Mitchell would double the deep right for the Pirates, allowing a run to score, and it was 2-1. So for a second there, you're a little bit worried, but then in the top of the fifth, the Phillies kind of took that worry out of it. Kyle Schwarber hit a home run to left field, his 33rd of the year, 441 feet, and for an opposite power alley home run, that's a bomb. Absolute nuke. Then Nick Castellanos singled to center. He got his second RBI of the night with Alec Bohm scoring. JT Realmuto moved up to third. Then Bryson Stott singled to center. JT Realmuto scored. And then Brubaker was removed for the Pittsburgh Pirates, allowing the bullpen to come out and try and kind of work their way out of it. But Matt Vierling had an RBI single. Odubel Herrera had an RBI single. And just like that, it is 7-1 Philadelphia Phillies. Then in the top of the sixth, Bohm, who is already 3 for 3, just been incredible for the Phillies as of late. Well, he homers to left center, 404 feet to left center, over, not quite over the bullpen, kind of to the left of the bullpen out there, but a beautiful swing by Alec Bohm. It's 8-1, and he went 4 for 4 with a home run. He was a triple shy of the cycle in today's game. And then Susugo had a RBI single to left in the bottom of the ninth off of Jeurys Familia, which, I mean, Jeurys Familia throwing for this team again is ridiculous, but even the run that O'Neal Cruz scored in that inning doesn't matter. An 8-2 victory for the Philadelphia Phillies, and this team is unbelievable. They're playing so well right now, and the first thing I want to talk about, in the next segment, we're going to talk about some of the players that are hot right now. We're going to talk about some of the reasons the Philadelphia Phillies could absolutely be a playoff team and are in playoff position right now. But let's just talk about this game for the time being. Just a beautiful offensive performance. Alec Bohm really led the way, and we're going to talk much more in depth about him when we talk about who's hot. But he had a great offensive performance. Good work at the dish. The swing looks amazing. He really focused in today, and he got the job done. Bryson Stott was 2 for 5. Nick Castellanos was 4 for 5 with 2 RBIs. He was really good today. JT Realmuto, 3 for 5. I'll tell you what I tweeted out, because this is honestly where the Philadelphia Phillies stand. If Nick Castellanos and JT Realmuto get hot, this team is not unbeatable, but they're going to make the playoffs. It's impossible that they don't make the playoffs if JT Realmuto and Nick Castellanos get hot, because Schwarber is going to stay hot with the power. Rhys Hoskins is going to have the ability to hit. Alec Bohm, who was 4 for 5 today, is going to continue to hit. And then you're going to get some work from Bryson Stott, who was 2 for 5, Matt Vierling, who was 2 for 4, Odubel Herrera, who was 1 for 4. Like, this team is too talented to miss the playoffs if all 4 or 5 of their top guys are hitting at the same time. And right now, for the first time this year, they're getting into that stratosphere. And not only that, Aaron Nola was outstanding tonight. Nola went 6 innings even, 1 earned run, 6 hits, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. He's just unbelievable. And I understand the Pittsburgh Pirates are not the toughest opposition, but he got the job done. When you line up that stat line against Brubaker, who had 4 1/3 innings pitched with 12 hits, 7 runs, 7 earned, yeah, Nola's going to win that game 10 times out of 10. Mark Appel with a shutout 2 innings, only 1 hit allowed, no walks, 1 K. Juris Familia allowed a run, but only 2 hits let up in the 9th when he went out there to shut down the game. And over the course of the game, well, in 9 innings, the Phillies only allowed 2 runs, 2 earned, 2 walks, struck out 9, gave up 9 hits. Pretty solid game from the Philadelphia Phillies pitchers. And this is just a great series-ending game against an opponent that you should take advantage of. You look at the way the Phillies take care of business today, and this is the blueprint for how you want to win games against bad teams on the way out. When you play the Cincinnati Reds, when you play the Washington Nationals, when you play the Pittsburgh Pirates again, when you play the Chicago Cubs again, this is the way you do it. Score early, let your starting pitching dominate, and get into a position where you could just fill up the zone as a pitcher, get singles as a hitter, and just work your way into high leverage situations that'll make the other team choke. Listen, the Philadelphia Phillies have high leverage pitchers. The Pirates, the Cubs, the Nationals, like these are teams that do not have, the Cincinnati Reds do not have high leverage back end of the bullpen arms. And the longer games go, the better chance you have to beat these lower level teams. I talked about in our last episode why the Philadelphia Phillies schedule will get even easier as teams like the Pirates, the Reds, the Nationals, the Cubs sell off players at the deadline. Well, when you sell off players, your team drops in skill level. It's just, frankly, how baseball works. And the Phillies are a beneficiary of the easy schedule that they have, and it's going to get even easier. But this is not just about the easy schedule. This team right now looks like a playoff team. They're playing like a playoff team. They've got a lineup that's hitting like a playoff team. They got a rotation that's pitching like a playoff team. They have a bullpen that is coming in and relieving like a playoff team. Frankly, when I watch the way that the Philadelphia Phillies have played since that Cubs series that they started off the second half with getting swept by Chicago, which was not great. 2 out of 3 against Atlanta, 4 out of 4 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's hard to look at this team and say, that's not a playoff team, because frankly, they are. Nick Castellanos has really started hitting. JT Realmuto has really started hitting. Rhys Hoskins has continued to be clutch. Kyle Schwarber, another couple home runs this series. Alec Bohm, maybe the hottest hitter on the planet, a chance that he wins National League Player of the Month honors. This team's incredible. And then you got bottom end of the lineup guys like Bryson Stott, like Matt Vierling, that will pick up the slack and get on base where they need to create the RBI opportunities. You look at the pitching rotation. Nola's great. Wheeler's great. Ranger Suarez is starting to come around to be great like he was last year. Kyle Gibson will have to work his way back in after he gets off the bereavement list. Tough time for him. Again, thoughts and prayers to Kyle Gibson, but he has been really good as of late. And then you look at bullpen games. Well, if you make a move at the trade deadline, those bullpen games become 5th starter games, and you can make a move for a guy that can fill up those innings, eat those up, and then get it to the bullpen and get you some wins. But even if you leave it for Bailey Falter or Christopher Sanchez, they've been serviceable. I don't hate what Bailey Falter has done. I mean, I'm just looking at the lineup that this team trots out every day, and it's a playoff lineup. The names sound like a playoff lineup. When you read the starting lineup for the Philadelphia Phillies, and let's just go through what they ran out there today. Schwarber, Hoskins, Bohm, Realmuto, Castellanos, Stott, Gregorius, Vierling, Herrera. And then you insert Segura for one of those guys. So put Segura in for Gregorius. And then you insert Harper in for one of those guys. Let's insert Harper in for Vierling. Schwarber, Hoskins, Bohm, Realmuto, Castellanos, Stott, Segura, Harper, Herrera. That's not the order they'll hit in, but when you listen to those names, that sounds like a playoff roster. Those are guys that can carry a team to the playoffs, and it just, frankly, it feels like a team that should be in October, and more often than not, with all the games they have left, it'll even out to be that way. I feel super confident in the Phillies right now, and coming up next, we're going to take a look at this next series that they have and why they have an opportunity to repeat what they just did. Some tough games against the Atlanta Braves down there, but a quick 2-game series that they could take advantage of. All of that next on today's Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about Blue Nile. Now, you might be ready to pop the question, or you might just be celebrating a milestone moment. Either way, you can find jewelry as unique as her by using the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Now, Blue Nile has simple online tools that let you choose the size, clarity, setting style, diamond shape, all of that stuff for the engagement ring. So it's one of one. It's unique to her, and she's going to absolutely love that. If you don't know what you're doing, maybe you want to find fine everyday jewelry like bracelets, necklaces, earrings, stuff like that. Well, Blue Nile has online help. You can talk to somebody on the phone. You can chat with someone online. They're available 24/7, the experts at Blue Nile, to help you pick out the perfect piece at the right budget. So make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And going on now is the Blue Nile anniversary sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings, plus every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. So shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. Okay, the Phillies have won their last 5 games. It's been a great start to the second half for the Phillies, outside of that sweep by the Chicago Cubs, which is anomalistic. And now the Phillies go ahead and they take the Atlanta Braves on down in Atlanta. The Phils just won a series with Atlanta. Took 2 of 3 at home against the Braves and some great matchups. They beat Charlie Morton. They beat, well, it was A.J. Minter who they beat with the home run by Bryson Stott in game 1 of that series. Aaron Nola actually lost a game in that series, but now you have a bullpen game on Tuesday because of Kyle Gibson going on the bereavement list. Nothing you can do there. A Zach Wheeler start on Wednesday, which is awesome against Charlie Morton. And you see Spencer Strider again. Now, Strider's been incredible for the Atlanta Braves. The bullpen has been really good for them. So even if you get to the bullpen, you're looking at a tough matchup. And the same goes for Charlie Morton. It's hard to say that Nick Nelson has any kind of advantage on Tuesday, an off day coming up tomorrow for the Philadelphia Phillies. But you look at a bullpen game against one of the better young arms in all of baseball, you got to give advantage to the Atlanta Braves. But Zach Wheeler has the advantage over basically every other arm in the National League as far as I'm concerned. You could put him up against Scherzer. You could put him up against DeGrom. You could put him up against anybody. Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, any of those guys that were in the conversation for the Cy Young last year, and I will take Zach Wheeler out of those guys. I trust him, and I love him in game 2 of this series with a chance for the Phillies to take at least one of these games. It's going to be a tall task for them to win game 1. But game 2 with Wheeler on the mound, I love it. Let's just take a little bit of a deeper, in-depth look at game 1. No lineups out, obviously. It's still the night after game 4 of the Pirates series. The Phils traveling back to, or rather down to Atlanta right now, catching a late flight down there. The Phils only have a 41% chance to win. A lot of that going into the fact that Spencer Strider is an actual starter with a sub-3 ERA. Nick Nelson has a 3.94 ERA, a 1.31 whip in 48 innings pitched, struck out 48. So he's striking out a batter per inning, 23 walks, and only 1 home run allowed. So Nick Nelson has been really good in these spots, but Spencer Strider has been really good in general. So the Phillies have a chance. They're not dead in the water, but Spencer Strider dominated them, and he wasn't even all that sharp in the last game. I received a couple tweets when the Phillies faced Spencer Strider last that was like, Nola's plating fastballs, and he's getting hurt. Spencer Strider is plating 97 at the letters. Why isn't he getting hurt? And there's something weird and deceptive that Strider does. Now, I'll tell you because I was in the locker room. I'll stand back. I'm about 5'10". If you're watching on YouTube, I'm not 5'10". I'm like 5'11". Yeah, if any ladies are out there listening, probably 5'10". Don't tell anybody. Spencer Strider is listed as 6 foot, and I have an inch or 2 on him. He's not a big guy at all, and the fact that he throws 97 is ridiculous. But there's something sneaky about the way he delivers the ball. Maybe it's because he hides it behind himself. Maybe it's something with the movement late. Either way, he's a tough guy to pick up. It's going to be a tough game for the Philadelphia Phillies. And you got to see Austin Riley, who's one of the best young hitters in baseball. He's leading the Braves in home runs with 29, RBIs with 68, and average 301. That's the guy you got to avoid, but there's other trouble on the roster. Dansby Swanson is an issue. Marcelo Zuna is an issue. Ronald Acuna is an issue. There's plenty of guys on this Atlanta. Matt Olson at first base. There's plenty of guys on this Atlanta Braves roster that's going to give you trouble. Honestly, if the Phillies sweep this 2-game series, you might as well pencil them in as a playoff team now, because this is a very tough matchup, and I'd be absolutely cool with these guys taking 1 of 2 against the Atlanta Braves. Now, here's something that I want to get into, because it's a little bit of an interesting talking point, and I don't know how other people feel about this, but I've gotten a couple tweets from people about it, so I figured I'd bring it up. The standings have gotten rather interesting for the Philadelphia Phillies, and I know we're looking at that final wild card spot, but that's not all we're focused on anymore. The Phillies have had a nice start to the second half despite getting swept by the Cubs, and now they're in a situation where, well, those Padres in the second wild card spot are not too far out of reach. When you look at the wild card spot for the National League, the Philadelphia Phillies are firmly in the third wild card spot with a 55-47 record. The Padres are only 57-46. They're a game and a half up on Philly, but if the Phillies continue to heat up and play an easy schedule, they got a chance to catch them. St. Louis may not be the enemy. San Francisco may not be the enemy. You might be able to catch San Diego because of a tough back-end schedule in the National League West and make some hay. Plus, the Atlanta Braves, only 6.5 up. If the Phillies take 2 from the Atlanta Braves, 4.5 games for second place in the division, 4.5 games for the top wild card spot. So an interesting late push by the Phillies to make hay in the second and maybe even top wild card spot. This is getting really interesting. And we got the trade deadline coming up. If you haven't checked it out yet, we put out a trade deadline episode where I talk through some players that I think the Phillies should be interested in. It's worth seeing what's going on there. But even if a move doesn't get made, this team, the Philadelphia Phillies, have played well enough that they're certainly in the conversation for the second and maybe even, with a little bit of luck, first wild card spot. So it's a great time to hop on the Philadelphia Phillies bandwagon if you have not yet got on there. And we're going to keep our eye on what's going on with the series with the Atlanta Braves. Now, coming up next as we round out today's Locked On Phillies, I'm going to talk a little bit about Bryce Harper's injury, because a couple people have reached out to me concerned about what's going on with Bryce. I want to ease some worry in your mind. It's not too much, but enough that maybe you'll sleep a little bit easier tonight. You should anyway because of the 4-game sweep. But we'll talk about when the Phillies slugger could return next as we wrap up today's Locked On Phillies. Next, I want to tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. You can find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. You can find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, the NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. They've got everything you could ever need over at BetOnline, so go ahead and check them out. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. So head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. All right, let's talk some injury news, because that's the focus of the Philadelphia Phillies right now, outside of the trade deadline, outside of the series they're in. Well, the tertiary, the third focus of the Philadelphia Phillies is the injury landscape, I guess we'll call it. Now, Jean Segura is in the middle of a rehab stint with AAA Lehigh. He's focused in on trying to get back to the major league level. He's DH'd a couple games. He's played second a couple games. I have to sneeze. I might sneeze in the middle of the segment, but for the time being, we'll soldier on. Jean Segura, though, is right around the corner from returning. And it sounds like Tuesday or Wednesday, so maybe he'll rejoin the team down in Atlanta. More likely than not, he'll rejoin the team in the next series after they take on the Braves, which would be Pittsburgh at home. I think that's a great spot for him to come back. I think it gives him a little bit more time than what he needs. And Jean Segura coming back only makes this team better. You add a 300 hitter to this rotation of the lineup and middle infield rotation. which is why I use the word rotation, because Alec Bohm, Johan Camargo, Didi Gregorius, Bryson Stott, Jairo Munoz, they've all kind of been floating around trying to figure out what to do with them. Jean Segura solidifies another spot there. He'll probably play second. Bryson Stott will probably play short, and it'll fit in beautifully. Jean Segura is right around the corner from returning. Great. Love that. Next up, though, Bryce Harper, and he's more of a concern. He was supposed to get the pins out of his thumb, his injured left thumb. So he's got a couple pins in there. I think he's got 3 in his thumb. He was supposed to get them out this past Monday. Now he's reevaluating, and the doctor's going to see him Monday. I imagine he's going to get the pins out Monday. All that means is he'll be a week behind schedule. And I was looking at him maybe the last week of August. So let's push to the first week of September. Here's the thing. The Phillies are in a playoff position. They're going to continue to beat bad teams. They can win without Bryce Harper. They're only going to get better when he comes back in September. So sure, it might be a week's worth of delay, but as long as he plays the final month of the season, this team is going to be really, really good. And I don't care if he takes time to work back. More Bryce Harper is better than no Bryce Harper. So it sounds like we're a month away. I'd imagine he'll get the pins out Monday. He'll have a month's worth of recovery time because getting the pins out is another surgery. They got to go in. They got to pull him out. He needs recovery time. I'd imagine the first week of September is the week we see Bryce Harper, maybe the start of the second week. But either way, you're going to get a couple weeks of Bryce and then hopefully a playoffs run worth of the former MVP of the National League. That's all you can hope for, right? But that's the injury update. Jean Segura probably next week. Bryce Harper probably a month from Monday. And this team is going to tread water and win without him. So, hey, get back when you get back. The good thing is this team's producing even without their top stars. And it makes me giddy, honestly, because even Bryce Harper having an MVP campaign last year wasn't enough to carry this team into the playoffs. Now, despite him being out, this team is good enough to be a playoff team. Hopefully it stays that way, but what a great series in Pittsburgh against the Pirates, and what an opportunity the Phillies have ahead of them. A 4-game sweep, Mr. Broom hanging out until the games multiple against the Atlanta Braves get done. But a beautiful thing this weekend, and hopefully we'll talk about some more good games starting tomorrow with the off day and a preview of the Atlanta Braves series on Locked On Phillies. And I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sullivan knows the game inside and out. Sully is a student of the game. He knows the history of the game. He puts out great content on the breaking news and the big storylines around Major League Baseball. So check out Sully's work on Locked On MLB. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. That's all I've got for you today, and I will talk to you on the off day tomorrow on Locked On Phillies.